Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the workshop of the Board of County Commissioners. Would you all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. First bullet point on our agenda is a discussion for the wraps for the MoCo vehicles. Ms. Hargraves.
So we did receive estimates back on the wraps and wanted to ensure what we wanted to purchase aligned with your desires. Alex and I have talked, and we do think that the partial wraps would be the best option, given that the hood and the roof would have to be replaced after 2 years. And if you go to that half wrap, which is much more expensive, it's really just a little bit more on the two sides and the back. So we want to do a partial wrap. We have the 6 vehicles that all could utilize the wrap. We did have to purchase small magnets to pass our Medicaid inspection in August, so we did that. So if we did them all, we'd be looking at $15,600 with a partial wrap. And it could be wise to prioritize and do 2 wraps for the next 3 years and then put them in rotation to be done every 3 years. And so if we did that, we'd want to prioritize our big bus and our mid-size van, which would be $6,000 this year. And then we could prioritize 2 more next year and 2 more the year after that, and so on and so forth. We'll use the current logo we have for MoCo on those. Be very basic information, how to contact, fleet number, what's required per regulations, and go from there.
Questions?
So, right now, you've got a bid at 15.6 for 6 vehicles, is that correct?
Yes,
Oh,
if
so
we
I
do the
don't-
partial wrap.
Okay, I don't think that bid would hold if you do 2 each year.
No, that's for,
No.
so no,
Yeah,
they would probably look different, probably. You're right.
And that's per side, Kelly, 1,800, or is that for the whole vehicle?
The whole vehicle.
1,800.
And that top one's only for, the minivans would fall into that first category, so the partial wrap would be 1,800. But all the rest of our buses are bigger and would fall under that $3,000 for the partial wrap section. So we have 2 vehicles that would qualify at that 1,800 and 4 that qualify at that 3,000 threshold.
I mean, it makes sense to do them all at one time, because we're gonna probably get another 5% increase every year, so
yeah.
10% depending on, or maybe 10%, but do we have the 15.6 to do them all?
So I don't know what comes out of the bus fund. If that
Because-
can qualify as this type of expense, which is a separate fund, right?
Yep.
If not, I suspect that we're gonna have some cost savings. Maybe we'll have 15,000 in cost savings. Right now, we're underspent, in some categories, overspent in others. Long story short, I'm not sure that we'll have.
So my question goes along with Commissioner Lindsay's, is if we have the money, I would just soon get them done all at one time, because it makes more sense, because eventually we're gonna, I mean, these are probably 5, 6, 7-year vehicles, these buses, before we have to rotate them out.
So they'll probably go through one more wrap before they're timed out.
Fair enough.
If we have it, and I think that bus fund,
I think this would qualify
if I
as
remember
an
right, it
expense
does qualify.
within
but-
there.
Yeah. I mean, that's just, I'm kind of thinking the same way you are, Commissioner. Do you have any?
No, it'd probably be better to do them all if we're gonna do them.
Get them all, and that way they're all the same. They're running down the road. Everybody.
I love it.
It's better, and it's advertising to get people
Better
to use them.
optics.
Yeah.
And it might be pretty crucial if they go to the third-party booker source.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Okay. We'll look into that, and if that's the issue, then I think by tomorrow, if you can find out for sure, I think the 15.6 is obviously the way to
Be here
go.
tomorrow.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Next week?
by
Not
next
tomorrow.
week.
Next week. You are correct. Okay. We'll make that decision when you give us a real number.
Solid number. Got
All
it.
right. Now we're going to talk about senior service contingency funds discussion as it relates to HB 24-1211.
So the state released House Bill 24-1211 in February of 2024, which basically said it's a contingency reserve fund. It's about $2 million, so it's not a ton of money. It's a rolling application, and you can use it with any unforeseen or emergency circumstances that have occurred to fund 90 days of business. And so it would be my intention to apply for 90 days for senior services using the unforeseen circumstance that there was an unexpected change in provider availability due to the turnover, leadership shift, those things. I think that would qualify under that, and we could apply to get the 90 days of funding from the state.
You might have more questions on this than I do.
Oh, I think if we can get some extra money in there, we need it.
I agree.
They definitely need it.
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
just gonna be short.
So this is just a grant submission form, so we'd have to do this on the 12th also. Is that too late?
It's rolling and it's first come, first serve. Which is why I didn't realize that you wouldn't be in a meeting until, Thursday afternoon, which I had already submitted these. So ideally, I think that I can develop my plan, get everything in writing so that I can submit if you approve next week on Tuesday, and just push submit that same day, if approved.
Okay. I don't think we have any issues at all, other than this is a workshop and we can't approve it today.
Sure,
Okay. All right, quick and easy.
absolutely.
Very good, thank you. All right.
Thank you, Kelly. Huh?
That's Rita.
That ain't Rita. I know Kelly.
All right, next up is 24-174 Senate Bill, Mr. Powers, as it relates to Region 9.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Commissioners. Is this on? Yeah, I guess it is. Do you know why dark is spelled with a K instead of a C?
No, but I think you're going to tell us.
There's no seeing in the dark.
Yeah, you can't see in the dark. All right, so Mr. Anderson has SB 24-174 on the screen for you. First of all, Commissioner Candelaria, I'd like you to look at the name of the first author of the bill.
I see that.
Yeah, so if you have any questions, I think you know her, you can bring them up with her. I would highly suggest that you do.
Yeah. I also see the Pelton brothers right underneath it.
Yeah, so Travis, if you'd scroll down to page 5, please. I've highlighted some stuff just to get through this as best as I can. Right there. So what this bill does, housing needs assessment. This bill 24-174 requires the local governments with a jurisdiction of more than 1,000 people conduct a housing needs assessment every 6 years. It has all kinds of requirements of what has to be in that housing needs assessment. And the following year that they make if they don't have one, and update if they do their housing action plans. So I will do my best to answer questions this is just knowledge today. I'm clearly not asking you to make any decisions, but this paragraph here says that no later than December 31st, 2024, the director shall develop reasonable methodologies for conducting statewide, regional, and local housing needs assessment. So they've got till the end of this year to develop their methodologies, which I still haven't seen a draft of, so I'm not sure I can answer specific questions. But that being said, I'll do my best to answer the questions that I can. The first question that I had when I saw this, because doing an assessment every 6 years might make sense in places that are growing ridiculously fast, but I mean the last census from 2010 to 2020 showed the Montezuma County had a change in population of 33. Not only that, doing an update every 6 years on information that becomes available every 10 years seems maybe not so bright to me. Travis, if you'll go to the bottom of page 26. So one of my first questions was, so what if local governments decide not to do this? They don't want to participate in this. And I've highlighted that portion.
So my question, Shak, because I think I can remember some of the conversations to this bill, since we don't provide any housing in the county, the unincorporated part of the county, obviously the municipalities do and the housing authority does. Does this really affect us? Maybe question to you and or to Ian.
So
we don't do anything with housing at all.
So the way it's written is that all jurisdictions with a population of greater than 1,000 are subject to this rule or to this law. And here's what it says. Prioritization for conformity with planning expectations on or after December 21st, 2027. Any grant program administered by the department, which is the Department of Local Affairs, the Colorado Energy Office, the Office of Economic Development, that's also OEDIT, the Department of Transportation, the Department of Natural Resources, the Department of Public Health and Environment, or the Department of Personnel and Administration that awards grants to counties and municipalities for the purpose of supporting land use planning or housing, excluding land use planning or housing pursuant to Article 32, Title 29, must so long as doing so is not inconsistent with the federal law or the state constitution, include prioritization criteria that considers whether a current local or regional housing needs assessment has been completed for the local government and has been accepted by the department pursuant to whatever section, and a housing action plan has been adopted by the local government and accepted by the department pursuant to that section. So what the state has built into this as a stick is the other grants to which you're accustomed to getting from CDPHE, from CDOT, from these various organizations. They now have to incorporate your compliance with this as a scoring criteria for the grants that you put in for. So it's kind of a big stick to attach to this, I feel. One could almost assume that somebody in Denver is not a fan of local control and wants to push strong centralized government. I mean,
well, and
tinfoil hat, go ahead.
And certainly it'll be interesting to see what that prioritization looks like, because
Correct.
they have to build it into their criteria. Now, whether the state is going to completely, or the state would completely withhold funds that came through DOLA or the other organizations that we get grant money from, I don't know.
I don't know
I
either.
mean, that would be, it probably depends how many counties stand up and protest this.
And municipalities,
yeah.
there's over 200 municipalities that would be subject to it.
I mean, it's hard for me to believe that the state's just going to simply withhold money that they have, that they dole out to local government. But I don't know.
They might use it to choose their favorite governments to dole it out to.
Well, they're going to use it anyway because
Correct.
they're going to say prioritization. And I mean, they might come up with prioritization that incorporates elements of which plans they like the best. So, you know.
Who knows what they're
I mean,
gonna
I would
do.
imagine that a county like Boulder County probably has the kind of plan that somebody up in the state would like, and away we go. So, I mean, I guess just because we do this, we're not
We
guaranteed
could
to
still be
get.
low on the priority list. Even if we
We're
have
gonna
this.
be low on the priority list regardless, probably.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
So if you want to go to my next attachment there, Travis, I put together a list of mandatory jurisdictions within the region, all of whom I've been presenting to and giving the same news to. So a local government is exempt from the requirements of this section if the local government participates in the creation of a regional housing needs assessment or is that's updated no less than every 6 years, provided that to be exemption from the requirement to conduct and publish a local housing needs assessment by December 31st, 2026. Or B, the local government has a population of less than 1,000. So, for example, I believe that the county just did a housing needs assessment with Ayers and Associates. And I think Mancus was part of that study. Maybe all the municipalities
All-
were, but I think for sure
all of them.
Mancus was. So that would be considered regional. And I think that's new enough. Anything after January 1st, 2022 can be considered, but it would have to meet all of the requirements in this bill, which I'm almost sure that it doesn't. That being said, I am working hard to advocate for the state that the counties that are, or municipalities that are going to do this, that have pre-existing housing needs assessment, be able to just do addendums rather than repeat the whole thing again. I'm sure another question is going to be who's going to pay for all this. In theory, the bill sets aside a portion of the state legislative fund to help offset this. It's going to be through a competitive grant process, and I assure you it's in the tens of thousands, not hundreds of thousands that it starts out with, so it's not going to be enough for this. Most of these consultants are charging $60,000 to $80,000 for a housing needs assessment. When you get 60 counties with a population of 1,000 or more and 200 municipalities with a population of 1,000 or more, all competing for those consultants at the same time, my hunch is, one, they haven't set enough funds aside, and two, the price is probably going to go up. Usually when government mandates that you have to buy a specific product, see Obamacare, the price goes up. So call it a hunch. This, am I dying on you? Okay, can you hear me now? All right, and the third attachment that I sent, this is not out of the bill. This is a document that I put together after going through the bill, looking at what's required and what information we can pull easily. So a lot of what's required, we can use AI to pull using a tool at localhousingsolutions.org, so that's good. The rest of it I'm trying to put together in a template that we can plug and play the numbers. But some of the things are going to be, let's say, different. For example, if you scroll down to where it almost turns blue, Travis, you'll see that right there. Go back up just a little bit. It says on the left there, identify areas that qualify as disadvantaged as determined with the Climate and Economic Justice Screening Tool.
What's that?
So I went ahead and put the link to that tool in there. Feel free to play with it at your own convenience. I think most of us in the county live in the same environment. I don't know.
All they have to do is come down here, they figure it out.
Dr. Copenhaver is a scientist. He can maybe tell me better on that. Then when you get into the housing action plans, some of these requirements are going to be easier for municipalities than for counties, for sure. In the housing needs assessment, you have to determine the amount of water that's being used per capita and whether there's enough water to meet the predicted growth. I predict that being a further problem for the county because you don't manage any water. And then in the housing action plan, it wants jurisdictions to come up with a water conservation plan, which would be easy for the municipalities. Well, some of them. It'll be easy for, Cortez, Mancos, Dolores that control their water. Dove Creek gets theirs from the ditch system, but again, they control it. For the counties that don't own any water assets, I'm not exactly sure how you're supposed to do that. Hopefully the water people will collaborate. Interestingly, also, they did not include the tribes in this bill, so they're talking about all the water conservation and leaving out the two entities that both have 60,000 acre feet sitting in Lake Nighthorse. So I don't know. I'm sure they were well intentioned when they put this together, but I don't think it was well thought out. Anyways, I'm not asking you to shoot the messenger. Today is information only. I do want to let you know that I'm working the best I can to put together a template where we can just throw numbers in and make this as easy as possible. I've not completed that process yet, but at least for now, this is what you're looking at. And I don't know what all the methodologies are going to be because DOLA has till the end of the year to finish developing them.
So the Aries Corporation, right, who did that needs assessment for us,
Errors, yeah.
Ayers. I mean, all those numbers are there, so I agree with you. Why would we're not gonna reinvent the wheel, just use everything, plug all those numbers in.
Yeah, I mean, there is potentially, having to do addendums to it, but that would be certainly cheaper than redoing the whole thing over again. But again, they haven't made a final decision on that. I will keep Travis updated as that information comes out. But anyways, I'm obviously not asking for anything today. I'm just sharing information so that the commission is aware, and I'll keep Travis in the loop moving forward. Happy to answer any questions if I have an answer to them.
Questions at all?
Travis, can you go back to the first attachment?
This one, sir?
Yes, that one. So long as, that first paragraph, so long as doing so is not inconsistent with federal law or the state constitution. Are unfunded mandates part of the Constitution, or are they just a state?
The problem is this isn't a mandate.
Yeah, I don't know what wouldn't be.
Well, but it's not, because they're saying in order to get prioritization for the grant funding. But we don't have to do this. We just don't get grant funded if we don't.
Yeah.
We don't get prioritized.
This is extortion.
What about if we don't do this and we don't want to obey by any more of their laws they pass?
What do you mean? Like in regards to what?
Like, let's,
I know where you're headed, you better,
I better quit.
Ian, you should probably plug your ears now. This might come before you in a different
I mean, it's
capacity
really,
someday.
it's really amazing how they do this, because what they do is they make local governments dependent on state grant funding and federal funding, and then we all become dependent on it. We grow our governments to reflect the grant funding that's coming in, and then bam, do this or else. I mean, this right here encapsulates the problem with relying on grant funding.
but we don't do anything, and
I understand for housing, but this is saying all the rest of the departments, DOLA, we do, CDPHE, we do.
CDPHE.
I mean, we do
I mean, the
CDOT.
health
There's-
department, the landfill, the road
There's a
department.
lot that we do
MoCo.
with it. But that's what I'm saying, we kind of already have it done with that housing needs assessment that we did with the areas.
Yeah. It's just,
So,
it's just interesting.
Just
I mean, these sort of bills show that the grants that we get cost way more than the minuscule match that we have to often pay.
Yep.
We give up our
I
local
get it.
sovereignty.
And I did look at all the names on that in the beginning. I looked at all of them.
You make some phone calls, Commissioner?
Oh, it's already done now, but
Well-
I'll be seeing them here shortly.
You can ask them to unpass it.
Be nice.
They
if
can
it was-
repeal it with the same vote they put it in with.
Yeah.
I did also want to bring to the commissioner's attention, I don't know how many of you will be going to the CCI Winter Conference, but I was speaking with Emily Lashbrook from Archuleta County, and for this Prop 123, they petitioned the state to be classified as a mountain resort community, which Prop 123, the way it was passed, said that anything done with that funding had to provide for sale housing at 100% or less of the area median income, and rental housing at 60% or less of the area median income. They appealed to be considered a mountain resort, which would allow rentals to go up to 120% AMI, but it doesn't move the home ownership. So they built 10 homes over there in Archuleta County, just outside of Pagosa Springs. And the rentals can go up to 120 now, but they had to disqualify 3 teachers who made $500 a year more than the 100% AMI for the thing. So the rules have essentially placed them in a position where they have to tell people, you know, if you're making less than 100%, we'll help you get into a home. But if you're making 100% plus $500, you have to rent. So Commissioner Brown, Warren Brown, I think some of you know, is going to approach you at CCI and ask for support amending that. So.
So they're trying to get a mountain resort community for Archuleta County?
Well, they got that designation, which allows them to do higher
To move
for
it higher.
rent, but not for housing. So if somebody makes 100% AMI plus $500, they qualify to rent, but not to buy. But if they make less than the 100%, then they can help them buy. It's government math. It's kind of like the time change.
I will be going to the winter conference for sure.
And
I've
Warren will
already
be
signed
looking
up.
for you, and he'll fill you in, but he'll be looking for support.
Okay.
And that's what I'm supposed to pass on.
I'm sure there's gonna be a lot to talk about at CCI.
I'm sure there will be. Like, how can you make the next legislative session not put 750 bills through the hopper?
And that was all part of the Prop 123?
Yeah, well, Commissioner Brown will be approaching you about, yes,
Yeah.
sir.
All right, what other kind of good news have you got for us?
That's it, isn't
Hey,
that
actually,
enough?
go back to the very first page where the act, let me look at some of the other
Sentences
legislators.
on there.
Oh, dang, my buddy over next door's there. Cleve Simpson.
Mhm. Okay. Fair enough. Good enough. All right,
All right.
thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Appreciate it. All right, with that, gentlemen, we have nothing else on our agenda. We do have a 2:30 E911 board meeting,
There's no
so we
relative
have
value.
30 minutes here, so do you guys have anything else?
I do not.
Okay, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you all.